So we talked a little bit about this, off camera before, but one of the things that you brought up is this concern that some people have in revenue cycle about being automated out of a job. So how do you address that fear? Like, obviously you seem like you've learned about automation, you are actively researching it. It's something that you're interested in. So how would you like address that fear of like being automated out?
So we talked about that, and I specifically told you it was my first conference setting post pandemic, and they started talking about automation. And my immediate thought, I was one of the people who was fearful because I'm like, well, if they're going to automate everything, they're not going to need people. And if clients don't need people, I don't have a job. So my concerns were very much in line with somebody who might be one of these employees. And what I've learned, and this is kind of how I rationalize it. So kind of going out of industry, we look at warehouse environments where they're adding robotics and automation, but they still need people for the complex things. And it's the same thing in healthcare. So yes, you can automate some of the non-revenue generating work and even some of the simpler components that may be a little bit more revenue generating. But again, when we look at the challenges, we still have the issue like payer guidelines are constantly changing. What was approved 5 years ago may not be approved now, and so it's going to take somebody, a physical person, to be able to handle some of those more complex things. Even auditing might be an area where, hey, there are some components that might be able to be automated, but when you're dealing with denials or downgraded DRGs, having somebody who's specialized and experienced to be able to go through and lay eyes on them and provide that information needed to get that claim paid essentially is going to be huge. And then, like I said, complex denials. Everything's not always denied because the date of service was incorrect or the last name was the person's maiden name. Sometimes it is a little bit more. It does require a little bit more hands-on work. So I would say see what the opportunities are to increase your skills. Because again, if you're in one of those non-revenue generating roles where you're just doing the simple rebilling or you're looking at financial assistance programs, that's something where it might get automated out. But if you're gaining your knowledge within revenue cycle, you're seeing what opportunities there are for your current employer to upskill you, or getting involved with some networking organizations that do offer that additional knowledge and experience, there's always going to be a place for those types of employees within the healthcare system. So a little bit of relief for me to recognize, and hopefully that helps somebody else who might be a little concerned about automation becoming so popular.
Well, and also I think there's a huge space for people in rev cycle to learn automation. There are a lot of pretty low barrier to entry ways that you can become familiar. We use UiPath at Enterbridge, which is kind of the leading software provider in RPA, and yeah, very popular. And they have a lot of resources about kind of starting from a very foundational level of how to automate your own personal tasks. And then you can kind of scale that up. So when you talk about upskilling specifically within rev cycle, you can also upskill in your technological skills, because that would make you a really valuable asset in rev cycle if you're able to do both, right? To have the technology standpoint, kind of mastered, or maybe not mastered, but you know what I mean? And then also having this, yeah, exactly. And then having the subject matter expertise, that would make you a pretty
Double threat for sure.
competitive applicant. Yeah.